Just got back from a really good 3-day weekend in one of Sweden's small västkustpärlor, as we say in Sweden. It's on the west coast of Sweden. It's called Strömstad. And if you translate that to English, it's basically electricity town. Gothenburg joke for you. But that's not why you're here, because we're going to talk about this, the iPhone 12 Pro, and why I switched to it from Android. This is not actually the first time that I'm having an iPhone as my main phone, because I've been having the iPhone way back. Like the first iPhone that I bought was the iPhone 4, and that came out in 2010. 10 years. But I remember when I bought that phone because I was coming from the, I don't know what it's called, but like the HTC Hero, maybe? I think it had a little tiny ball down in the middle. I'm gonna post a photo right here so you can see it. But that phone was such a horrible user experience for me. I remember that I didn't like it the slightest. And when the iPhone 4 came, I decided to go for that one because I only heard good things about the iPhone. So when I transferred from that to the iPhone, it was like night and day. And back then, Android wasn't nearly as optimized as it is today. And I think that that was one of the reasons why I felt that the jump was so huge. And I stayed within the Apple iPhone sphere for the coming 6 years, up until 2016 in February, when I bought the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge. And the reason that I did that was because I got a little bit tired about the iPhone and the iOS, because it felt a little bit limited, and there was so many people that had talked good things about Android that made me intrigued on how good it actually performed, because the last time that I used it, it wasn't good at all. But now, 6 years later, I thought like, maybe it can work. So I decided to give it an honest chance. And when you're doing that, you kind of need to commit. You can't use it for like 2 weeks and then make your decision. So I actually decided to go for at least 2 years ahead with the Android OS to see if that could convince me to stick with that. And I think that the S6 Edge kind of survived for half a year before I actually broke the screen. All the curved screens that I've had on my phones has broken at some point because of the pressure when you have it like in your pocket or bump into something and something like that. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm super glad that iPhone has gotten back to like the good old iPhone 4 or iPhone 5 design. And I stayed with the Samsung Galaxy series for the coming 3 years actually after that. And I've been using the Samsung Galaxy S10 as my main daily driver for the last 2 years. And I'm super satisfied with it. But something that I've always felt with the Android OS is that it never felt as smooth to use as it did on the iPhone. And since my main job is posting photos onto Instagram and different social media platforms, like that is super crucial that that works for me. But it's always been such a hassle getting the photos or the content from my computer to the phone. And the way that I've done it up until this point is that I basically uploaded the photos to Dropbox and then opened Dropbox in my phone, exported it from Dropbox, and then uploaded it to Instagram. And for me, that is kind of a hassle to do because there's no way of actually transferring it straight from the computer to the phone in an easy way. And when you're using some of the biggest like social media apps such as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, there's always been this feeling that it's not working as good as it is on the iPhone. I thought it was just me thinking that because I came from the iPhone, but now that I've been using the iPhone 12 Pro for the last couple of days, it feels so much more optimized. Like all the small detailed animations that is on iOS compared to the Android system that I have on this phone at least makes the user experience so much better on the iPhone. Another thing that I've always thought about is the photos that is coming out of this camera. They're good, like don't get me wrong, but they don't look as good as the iPhone photos. My fiance at home, Amanda, she's been having iPhone for the last, I think like 6 years or so. And when we take photos of our kid or whenever we take a walk and take some photos, it always looks better on her phone. Like I do know aperture, shutter, and ISO and those kind of settings because I'm shooting with a mirrorless camera as my daily job. but I can't get it to look as good as with iPhone. But again, I'm not gonna do a comparison between these two because that would be unfair, because this is old tech and this is new tech. Another thing that I've noticed is that whenever I scroll Instagram on this phone and upload a photo or upload a video, it doesn't look as good as it does on the iPhone. For example, like majority of my YouTube videos look way too saturated on this phone, and majority of my photos look super weird when I compare it to my MacBook and then see it on here. So I always have to make some tweaks and adjustments to make it look good here. But then when I look on Amanda's phone, which is the iPhone, it looks worse when I do the adjustments. So, you know, it's kind of weird when you try to optimize for all the different screens. That's just my personal opinion. But the single one thing that made me decide to actually go for the iPhone 12 Pro this time around was the ability to have AirDrop, because that is just so good. Of course, I get like iMessage, FaceTime, and all that because all my relatives has an iPhone as well. But I have the MacBook Pro and the iPad Pro, and now the iPhone 12 Pro, and being able to send files and photos between all the different units seamlessly, that for me is such a game changer. In just the last week, as I've been using the iPhone, I've noticed such a huge difference in my workflow and how simple it has been to actually upload photos onto Instagram or create videos and send them over to my phone and that kind of stuff, and like do the final tweaks on the computer, send it over to my phone, and then back to the computer, send it over to my phone without having to go through the different hassles of uploading it here, downloading it here, exporting it there. And that for me was definitely the biggest factor on why I decided to go back to the iPhone from Android. I'm not saying that Android is bad in any way, and I know that it offers you so much more openness to the entire operating system than you get with iOS, but I've also realized that I kind of don't need all that extra fluff that is on the Android OS, because in my kind of workflow, I just want things to work seamlessly, and that is exactly what it does with the iPhone, the MacBook, and the iPad Pro. And the reason that I went for the iPhone 12 Pro and not the 12 Pro Max is because I thought the S10 was a little bit too big in my hands and I wanted to have a little bit of a smaller phone. So I know that the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to have the IBIS, it's going to have a better camera and all that stuff, but I think that I'm probably gonna use my A7S III more than I'm going to use this for Instagram, professional work, and all that. But this camera is very good to have as a backup camera for this. But I would love to know, would you go for the iPhone 12 Pro or the iPhone 12 Pro Max? And why do you think Android is better than iOS or vice versa? Because we all have different opinions, and I would love to hear yours. So do drop a comment down below. And if you haven't subscribed, that'd be highly appreciated as well. And thanks so much for watching, tuning in, and being a part of the channel. Can you believe that we hit 410,000 subscribers here on the channel? That's just insane. But anyway, see you in the next video. Take care.